I think we're good, Mark, to start. So I'll introduce Mark Hansen, who is in his fourth year as our head of lower school. And Mark's wife, Deborah, also works in the lower school and helps me with admissions. And so, Mark, you'll get us started this morning.
Great, thank you, Debbie, and good morning, and thanks for joining us. It's a smaller group, so as we get started, feel free to ask questions either in the chat or if you'd like to, just when Mrs. Chavaria is going through the slides, feel free to ask questions. And I'm just going to start off by kind of giving you a little background, and I'm sure the admissions office did as well. But about a year ago, and kind of just want to share our commitment to children and making sure they're in an environment that we feel they learn best in. And as you know, a year ago, we were in this pandemic where everybody was home, learning from home as we were. But we were already starting to look at next year and the current year that we're in, and how we could plan effectively, because we realized really quickly that online learning is not the best way for children to learn. And we knew then that we wanted to make sure we could do everything possible to have students on campus from day one. And so there was lots of planning and lots of mitigation in terms of filtration and social distancing. We went from 28 homeroom classes to 45. And our average class size this year is 10 students. Our largest is 13 and our smallest is 5. We have lots of directional hallways. We're eating in the classrooms. We're doing all the things that we had to do, but we knew deep down that kids learn best when they're in front of their teachers and they're with their peers. And that was our commitment as soon as we started planning. And we're happy to say we've had a few pods that have had to go out for quarantine, I think 3 total. But we started the year with a full load of students. And we have about, I think, 2.5 weeks left, and things are going really well. So as you hear Mrs. Chavaria this morning, just kind of think, about the whole school also, and not just the grade level, but also our commitment to you and what we really feel is the way children learn best. And the magic at Academy happens when teachers are in front of their children, and the children are able to talk and share with their teacher and their peers. So I'm going to introduce Brelly Fahrenkopf, and Brelly is our associate head of lower school, and she's also the director of the early childhood program, which at Academy is the Explorer program, pre-K and kindergarten. So good morning, Brelly.
Good morning. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Mark said, we're really excited that you're here, that you're going to be joining us in the lower school at Academy. As a parent of 3 graduates of Columbus Academy, I can tell you you're in for just a special experience, and we're really excited to share that with you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Wendy, and she can tell you all about the amazing things that are going to happen in 4th grade.
Thank you, Brelly. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see that okay? Awesome. Okay, so here we go. So to start with, we can discuss the units of study that we have in 4th grade. So we start off the school year with building our classroom community. And so we have the responsive classroom approach that we use in lower school. And we spend the first 6 weeks of school really developing a sense of community where we want your children to feel safe and comfortable and accepted and appreciated for who they are, so that way we can start off the school year strong. They can continue to develop their self-confidence. They can be open to taking more risks because they feel safe and know that they're going to be supported, even if they are wrong in taking a risk to answer a question or something like that. We get into really nice discussions at our morning meetings that help to develop that sense of community as well, and do lots of different activities throughout the day and throughout the school year that will continue to develop that. So even though this is our start of the school year, it's something that will continue throughout the year. And then our second unit of study goes into an environmental awareness unit for fourth graders, and this is a project-based learning unit that we have developed so that we are able to use the beautiful campus that we have, and also to have a connection in our curriculum with Ohio, because we have a large study of Ohio through our social studies curriculum in fourth grade. But then this also goes into other areas of the curriculum. So within this unit, students will be out exploring campus ecosystems, and then they eventually will be responsible for researching one of Ohio's native animals. And during that research project, then they will create a brochure. And then the brochure is donated to the Ohio Wildlife Center. We like our students to know that they have an audience when they're writing. So they have a sense of purpose with their writing. They think about the author's purpose, and they get their voice in there in certain ways depending on their audience. And so this is then donated to the Ohio Wildlife Center, and they use, excuse me, the brochures for other children that come to the center in order to teach more about Ohio's native animals. And then our children are able to become a voice of advocacy for those animals who in other ways wouldn't have an opportunity to be able to get some of the things that they are able to have during their time with the Ohio Wildlife Center or through the different programs that the center offers. And then after that, we go into an understanding differences unit, and we learn about all kinds of differences from socioeconomic to all kinds of different areas through reading and writing and different mini lessons that we have throughout that unit. And during that unit, they will write a fiction piece for their audience that's a younger audience. And so they're thinking of how they can have, in this case, it would be their first grade buddies, but then beyond that, if we can also donate it to other schools, some years we've been able to do that as well. So that again, their writing has a sense of purpose and goes beyond to empower them to have a voice in different areas. And this unit then blends into our Safe and Strong Communities unit. And that is our grand finale of the school year, where we go into a Young Change Makers project. So again, back to project-based learning. And we have lots of service learning woven throughout the year in our curriculum. And so this is an opportunity then for the children to research a specific charity, and then they are empowered to become a voice of change so that they know no matter their age, they can make a positive difference in the world. And we have a Young Change Makers project where they will then present, and they try to share all of their ideas for service with our community, and hope that their families and other people in our community then will take that throughout the summer and beyond. So those are our main units of study. And then to break down the curriculum into the different areas, for reading workshop, we definitely just want them to first and foremost develop that love and appreciation for literature. We know lots of kids come to us with that already, so we want to foster that if it's already there, and we want to be able to nurture that and to help that to grow if it's something that a child is struggling with in the school year. So the typical reading workshop will start with a mini lesson where we're focused on a skill for that day. Lots of times we have read alouds that will be interactive read alouds, where it will again focus on that skill and allow the children to participate in their thinking about that skill, and also to have some peer conversations about the different areas that we are discussing. We have one-on-one teacher conferencing throughout the year, whether it be for a specific skill or to get your child interested into a certain book, or to expand their interest as a reader into different genres. Lots of different opportunities for reading through the conferencing. And then the independent reading piece is where I was saying before, where we try to get them into the Just Right book that is going to help them to continue to grow in a positive way as a reader. We have a 30 book challenge that the kids like to go for. And so some kids can go beyond that challenge and celebrate throughout the year. And within that, they're trying to expand into different genres. We also have literature circles from time to time, where students are put into about groups of about 4 or 5 with a certain book. And so our goal in that area is to get them to be able to learn how to really discuss a piece of literature, and to be comfortable sharing the different elements and the connections and all the different things that would be a part of a book that they are reading. We have book talks throughout the year. We like to do those a lot of times at morning meeting as part of share, where the kids get excited about a certain book and they want to share it with their classmates. And so then they, again, will get somebody else hooked onto that. And before we know it, we have kids that are kind of having their own book discussions because they're all reading the same series or something like that. And so it's just really exciting. We have really expansive libraries in our classroom because all of the teachers, pretty much everybody at our lower school, we all just love reading. So we can get our kids interested in that way. Literature responses, where we're teaching them to write in written form about their thoughts in reading as well, so that they're able to get their thinking down in writing instead of just always having it be an oral response. So they do have a reader's notebook that they use for that, and they keep that reader's notebook throughout the school year. When we have a mini lesson, it has a mini lesson section, so they will put our mini lessons inside of that, so they can always reference that if we're going back to a certain skill or they need to use a certain skill for one of the activities that we're doing. And then they have a response section to literature in there as well, where they're able to work on that and just keep track of their reading. Writing workshop follows a similar format with a mini lesson. And after the mini lesson, the students usually will have a quiet writing time where everyone's kind of focused as an author. We talk about how that really helps us to get into a deeper thought and to really have that concentration that's needed to get lost in our writing and get that ideas flowing. We do have conferencing just like we do with the reading workshop, where it's one-on-one conferencing with students. And a lot of times we're focusing on a specific skill that that child needs support in at that time, or maybe enriched in at that time, to be able to individualize the student's needs during writing workshop. And then, as I said before, during some of our units, some of our writing will become published writing pieces where we want them to have an audience where their writing will go. And then author's chair sometimes can be the whole entire finished piece. And in that case, you might see that on Seesaw, which is an app that we use to help post some of our students' work and pictures of things that we do throughout the day. In the classroom, mostly it's focusing on the skill. So we would have a few kids highlight how they applied the skill that we had for the lesson that day. And then within writing, we also have a vocabulary program called Wordly Wise. And that program is something that we use in order to develop their vocabulary. The kids get super excited. I call them vocab detectives. And so they sound the alarm and they get so excited when they recognize a vocabulary word in their reading, or they're able to use it in their writing. And it's something that continues throughout the school year with different lessons and different words each rotation. It follows the letter day rotation for that program. We do review cursive. Most of the kids have had cursive before they enter 4th grade. If your child has not had cursive, no worries there, because we review each of the letters and will help support them in that way. And then grammar, a lot of times is something that will introduce whole class, but also can be something that we individualize through our writing conferences, where we look and see a specific area of grammar that maybe a child needs support in, or could go on to the next level in that way. And then Ohio history, your child will have a textbook called the Ohio Adventure, and you can see the different units that we study from Ohio's land all the way through to the Civil War throughout the school year. And it's really exciting to go through all of these units with the kids. They get excited about all of the different wars that we are studying. And then beyond that, just specifically because we're looking at Ohio's focus in that area. So it's just teaching them more about their state. They get excited because they can take little road trips and they can go and see some of these things that we're talking about, some of these historical sites and things like that, just to look and see a real piece of history that has been preserved in that way. And so they'll come in and just be so excited to share about something they saw over the weekend, or something they saw on the news, or something like that, that would connect with what we're studying. For Ohio history, it goes back and forth between being a project that the children are working on and then a test from time to time as well. When your child has a test for social studies, they are given a study guide and they have a week to prepare for that test. And so we teach study skills through that format as well. So the study guide is filled out in the classroom together, and then it comes back and forth between home and school each day so that we can teach them different ways to study and prepare, and they can share their ideas. Again, we like to let them kind of grow and expand from each other that way as well, and share ways that work for them, because we want them to understand that there are all different kinds of learners. And so their style might be different from somebody else, and that's okay, because you have to think about what works for you. So again, we go back and forth between a project that they would make. Sometimes it's an independent project, sometimes it's a partner project. So we can, sometimes they need to learn how to manage their time independently. Sometimes they need to learn how to work well together with another partner and how to balance that out in that way. So we will rotate around from those as well. And we use the Envisions Math program for lower school at Columbus Academy. And you can see our units of study that we follow. That's the order that we follow the program. It has an online piece to it as well. And so as a teacher, I have really appreciated that, because I think it helps the parents at home, because sometimes the way that the strategy is taught is a little different than maybe a parent was taught when he or she was actually in school for that thing. And so you can go and watch a video that will tell you exactly how it was taught in the classroom that way. It comes with a Bounce app that it's called a Bounce app, but it's an app, but the app is called Bounce, that will allow you to scan over a homework page and to go to a video that would teach that. And then it also allows teachers to assign specific things to all of their students. So anytime that I have a lesson, I automatically assign the video to the students, so that way they can watch the video at home if they need to as well. And then it also allows you to assign different review material or enrichment material or support material that way as well. The biggest piece about math, though, is the math fact fluency. So the number one thing that's going to help your child be confident in math is to really make sure that they know their math facts. So all 4 operations, from addition and subtraction to multiplication and division. We begin the school year reviewing multiplication and then move into a division review. But you can see how quickly here with number 3 on the list, how quickly we're into multiplication and division. And so we want to make sure that our students aren't going to be hindered by the fact recall, and instead are able to feel comfortable and confident and able just to focus conceptually as a student, to be able to expand their thinking as a mathematician, and then also to be able to focus on the concepts and have that confidence. We do have nightly fact practice that's written on the assignment board, and I'll talk more about homework when we get to that slide. So we'll talk about how fact practice for homework works as well. And then for exploration and adventures, as I mentioned before, so a lot of times we're outside for outdoor learning. We love to use our campus, even if it just means getting outside for the lesson that day. It might not be something that's necessarily focused on looking at that, but it's just being surrounded by the beautiful areas that we have on our campus. And then other times it is specific to something that we're working on in our unit of study. We also love STEM in 4th grade. And so the kids from time to time will have a STEM lesson that they will work on. It's mainly aligned with our social studies curriculum to be an additional project that they can work on. And within this piece of the curriculum also, I like to use it, and we all like to use it, because it also has an aspect where they are explaining their thinking and writing. So again, where we talked about that in reading, in this case, they have a design thinking page where they're actually thinking before they attempt to start the challenge. And so they're getting their thoughts down that way based on the information they've been given. And then they have a reflection page after, where they reflect on how the challenge went and maybe something they would have done differently the next time, or what went well and things like that. So it's teaching them again to get their thoughts in writing that way. So they have a STEM book that they write in each time that they work on one of those. A lot of our STEM challenges can be done outside as well. Then for homework, usually your child will have a quiet reading time, is what we call it, for about 20 minutes a day of at least of quiet reading time. With the math fact practice I said, we say 10 minutes of math fact practice Monday through Thursday. And then for the rest of the week, Friday through Sunday, they can have a choice depending on how they feel. If they want to use that to have some extra time for fact practice, or they just need to take a break, that's okay as well. But it is one of those things that isn't physically handed in. So you just want to make sure that your child's actually doing that each night, that it is a required homework assignment, even though it's not something that comes in. And like I said, it's really going to build their confidence if they have that. They have it, it's already in there, and they don't have to worry about recalling those facts anymore. It's just automatic. We do have homework binders that the children use to stay organized. And then they have an assignment notebook. And so the assignment notebook stays inside the binder. And each day we have an assignment board in our classroom that looks just like the notebook. And so each day we write up the assignments on the board, and the students then fill out the assignments in their notebooks, and then we check them. So every day you'll see a stamp or a sticker or a signature, depending on which teacher you end up with in fourth grade and what that teacher ends up choosing to do, but it's always checked every day. And just make sure your children get it out at night and open it up and look at it. Sometimes they think they have it memorized when they write it down, but there's a checklist on there and everything just to help them keep track. And then if everything goes back to being able to have lockers next year, they will have that as another organizational tool. A lot of our kids call them ERs because they don't lock yet. They haven't, they're not where there's a lock piece with it. So they'll call it their ERs. And they have fun getting to keep their things organized out there, and deciding what's best to be out in the locker and what's best to be kept in the desk. So they're learning those skills. And then field trip wise, Glen Helen's usually our major field trip. It's one that we've always taken in the fall in the past. We're hoping maybe to get this where we can go in the spring this year, but it's the overnight trip that we take in fourth grade. The students have been staying 2 nights and 3 days. And they are just completely absorbed in nature the whole entire time. All of the teachers stay there the entire time and are with them, and the counselors and everybody that are there are just amazing. It's a wonderful experience. So we're hopeful that spring will work out for this trip. And then I mentioned the Ohio Wildlife Center. So we go and we actually visit and we present the brochures to the center, and they get to see the facility and the different animals that are there at the time and learn a little bit more about the animals. This year we were able to still do it on Zoom, even though we couldn't go in person. So they still were able to have that experience. Myers, one of our service field trips, and the fourth graders are in charge of buying the perishable food items for that trip. It's something that we do as an entire school to sponsor some families that are less fortunate than us at the end of November. And so our school collects box tops, and the amount that is received from box tops then is given to the fourth graders, and they then have the money divided up between the families that we are sponsoring that year. And the students then have to figure out with the budget how to be able to manage the money to be able to get the families' requests through the ad. They have the Meijer ad and everything that they're looking at to try to get the most for their money, but also thinking about what's healthy for the money as well. And then in the spring, we've gone to the Ohio State House as well to go along with the mini unit of government that we do. As I mentioned earlier, we have first grade buddies. So everybody in lower school is matched up with a different grade level, and our grade is matched up with first graders. And so usually if we can, we'll do it once a rotation, but if not every other rotation, we try to get together with our first grade buddies to do an activity together. And so it's nice for our fourth graders to be the older ones with some younger ones looking up to them. And we do lots of different fun things together for them to be able to share, sometimes with what they've been learning in the classroom, or other times just a craft or something that they get to do, or just some time to play outside, just have some downtime and enjoy each other. And then for birthdays, typically in fourth grade, families just send in a snack with their child, and then we find a time throughout the day where we can share the snack and celebrate the child for his or her birthday, and then we'll post a picture on Seesaw for parents to see. And then in fourth grade, it's a tradition to have a fourth grade musical, which is an amazing production that our music teachers put together with the kids. And so this year they're working through everything still to get Moana, and that'll be something that will be presented through Zoom because they've been filming them in stages throughout the year. Usually it's in December, and this year it won't be until May that it's being shown, just because of everything behind it all. They still were able to do it, and it's a major event where all of the kids are included, all of them feel appreciated, all of them feel supported, and it's amazing to see the confidence that they have on stage for every single kid. I mean, every single kid. So one of those goosebump moments. And then parent communication, you will get weekly emails from your homeroom teacher. So sometime on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you'll find out early in the year which day the teacher prefers to send those out. And that will kind of wrap up what's happened for the week, give you some ask me about questions to check in with your child about some things that we're doing, and then let you know of anything new that's happening coming up. And then Seesaw, as I mentioned, is our app that we use to get pictures and things out to parents. And then your room parents will usually email you once a week as well. And that's it. Sorry, I spoke fast. I was trying to get through everything, but any questions, anyone? Or should I stop share before I ask for questions? So I can see everybody better, do you think? Should I stop the share?
Yeah.
Probably a good idea.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, now any questions?
Thank you very much, Wendy, for that comprehensive look at fourth grade, and it's a terrific year here. So parents, feel free to, like Wendy said, if you have any questions about anything in the program.
Tennille Davis here, Franklin's mom. Can you talk a little bit about Spanish?
So Spanish is a co-curricular class that the children will rotate out of the classroom. If we should have our regular classroom spaces next year. And so again, I have had numerous new students in fourth grade that have never had Spanish before, and that is not an issue at all. So Jane Maloney is our Spanish teacher, and she does a fantastic job of just making sure that the child feels comfortable and confident in what he or she can do in that way. And it's never been an issue if your child hasn't had Spanish, but it's a part of our co-curricular program.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wendy, can you talk a little bit about assessment before units? You assess the kids before math units to see where they are?
We haven't with this new math program.
This one, okay. I didn't know, but it keeps reviewing and going back, right?
It does, yeah. So this math program, it's different than what we were doing before because it will give us what we need to expand within the unit. So we can do different things with every single lesson that way. We were trying to do that before as well, but it was based on a pretest and then the kids were out in that way. But we found that it was more of like a Swiss cheese approach where there would be a lot of holes. And so we want to make sure that it's not a lot of surface level learning where we're learning vertically, but instead horizontally to have a deeper understanding conceptually. And so this program gives us the materials and the support to be able to do that more so. And so we find it more beneficial just to be able to go into the lesson, see where the child is in literally that day, look at where the road takes them.
Wow.
It always starts with 3 check-in questions that you do at the beginning of the lesson, and that can kind of tell you where the kids can go from there based on their success with those 3 check-in questions. And like I said, I like it better because I feel like it's a more solid understanding of the concepts instead of thinking
That's what
level.
I'm hearing from teachers. Yeah, great. Any other things in the chat?
I'll answer one question that hasn't come up at this session, but often comes up is what the plan is for next year. And I think just, nobody has the crystal ball other than we feel that the numbers are certainly going in the right direction. And our planning is for a more regular year, which means we have 28, 29 homeroom classes. The students go to their co-curricular classes right this year, the teachers all come to the classroom. The students are in a pod. And we have a lovely dining hall, but this year the students are eating in the classroom. And so we expect to be back in the dining hall, all of these things. We do expect there's going to be some mask requirements set down by the state still. but we don't feel that's going to be, our children have quickly moved into the mask from day one, and it really has not been a problem. Even outside, we ask that they wear their masks. They can take a mask break out by themselves, but when they're playing with others, we just moved into something very exciting for us yesterday, where our homeroom classes have only been able to play at recess with the average of 10 students. And so yesterday was the first day that we mixed 2 pods because our nurses felt that was a safe thing to do. So kids that have not been able to play together all year, for the first time yesterday, were able to have a larger group of friends to play with. So, and we've also not had conferences on campus. We've done them all by Zoom, but we do something at the end of the year called Celebration of Accomplishments. And we're offering parents the opportunity to come in and have those conferences in the classroom, because the parents have not been in the school into their child's classroom the entire year. So we're looking forward to having those that want to have that experience come in on when we have the conferences. Any other?
I can. Oh, you're muted. I can finish up here if we don't have any more questions. I think.
We have a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Good question there. Is there any chance the children will get to see the campus before the ice cream social? I know we have some thoughts on that, Mark or Brelly.
Well, I think one thing you can do now, and we've been encouraging families to do this, incoming families like yourself and also our current families, feel free on weekends. If you want to come up and use any of the trails, we have 231 acres on our campus, most of which are trails and wildlife and wilderness. So feel free to come up as a family. You can also use all the playground equipment. The early childhood one is locked, but the other ones, we've got some new equipment that we just added after spring break. And I think we are looking at the possibility of getting families in to see the campus before the ice cream social in August. And I think it will kind of depend on how many families and how many we can have in at one time. So right now, like for our conferences that we're having separate doors, using multiple doors. So, and parents have to come in and they have to leave and not congregate. So I think all of this we run through our COVID-19 response team, and they guide us in terms of what we can and what we probably shouldn't do for safety. So, but if we can get new families here before the ice cream social, we absolutely will do our best.
And Nancy, you can talk a little bit about what's coming up. And Nancy can also send you the trail map when she sends the recording to you, so you will know where some of these trails are. But Nancy, can you talk about the new things that'll be going out?
Yeah. So yesterday, I hope that you all received an email about the community pages for new families. And the portal basically has information about transportation, logistics, athletics, so all sorts of things, letters from Mark and other administrators. And so that hopefully you should all be able to see that. There are some forms to fill out. I think there's a lower school form, Google form to fill out. That's at the top there. And so hopefully you should all have access to that. And if you're having any trouble with your portal, feel free to message the admissions office. This is our first year using it, so hopefully it's going okay. And I'll be sending a recording around likely later today, if not tomorrow morning, with just a recording of this video and then the trails map as well.
And I'm working on host families now, which would be a current family that would connect with you to have kind of a sense of knowing someone at the school, if you don't already, to have sometimes host families feel more comfortable, asking a current parent that question rather than us. So, and we have something from Molly. All of our questions have been answered. So we don't have any. Good, but thank you for an in-depth look into our fourth grade. I think what came out loud and clear to me that Wendy talked about is supportive and a sense of purpose. I've had 2 girls graduate. Mark has and still has a 9th grader, Brelly. Mentioned her 3 kids that have 2, and I'm not sure I even realized till my kids graduated the sense of support that kids go off with. My daughter Kelsey would still send her anything she wrote in college, would often send it back to either her English teacher or Mr. Schultz back here and say, would you mind reading this? And they would, be more than welcome. So I think that support and sense of purpose carries on throughout. I want to thank Wendy, Mark, and Brelly. Thanks for the comprehensive presentation. And we hope you go off with your day and don't wonder about anything either. Call the admissions office, call lower school. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And hopefully with going back to something that's normal, will be a welcome sight, just like the kids getting to see more of each other yesterday at recess. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Hope to see some sunshine today.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mark.
Welcome to Academy.
Welcome.